I want to introduce you into prototyping on a different level. It's prototyping with hardware, so-called little bits. And it will be hands-on. I won't make a big presentation. I've prepared some slides, but technology, as usual, is not on our side. However, let's start. For you, what is a prototype for you?
Hello.
Good. Well done. So, Müller, alles gut. So, what is? Let's talk about prototyping. What is a prototype for you? Anybody? Yes, please.
I would say a prototype is a fantastic thing, yeah, which gives the user a first impression of roughly impression of the product.
Yeah, first impression of the product. Other.
It's handmade and it's already working somehow.
It's handmade and already working. So, okay. What else?
It can have only part of the functionalities that the product later has, so it might be only the shell or maybe only the electronics or something like that.
Yes. So we can focus on one function or on one thing of what you're building, whatever it is, and can check whether this is what our customer wants or not. What else?
It helps to catch the first interest of someone who has who
Yeah.
will be presented.
You're getting real for the first time. Yes? Can you give me some examples of a prototype? What was the last prototype you had in your hands? Yes?
What type of website?
A website? Mm-hmm.
Sensor and some basic programming of the sensor.
Okay.
I guess we have prototypes every day in our hand. Any product we take is like a prototype, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
This is a prototype.
Exactly. Everything we take in our hand is a prototype.
Why is it a prototype?
Because there is always a chance to improve it.
Yeah, it's iPhone 5 or something like this.
Yeah.
And you have 7 already. So, prototype in that sense, it's everything what you need in order to understand the needs and the pains and gains of your customer better, basically. And I totally agree, it never stops. So also the last version of WhatsApp was also in this sense a prototype. And it depends in your process. I think, how many of you guys were before in the design thinking class? Yeah. So there you probably heard already a little bit about prototyping. And
I've got a question.
yes,
How
please.
does it differ from a minimum viable product? Is it the same or just a difference?
It depends, because there's different definitions of minimal viable product. So what would you say is a minimal viable product?
It's a product with functionality, the minimum functionality, which delivers value to the customer
Yeah.
already.
So suppose your MVP is to check whether a transaction can be done from one person to the other with no interaction, like you use a platform or something, then you wouldn't use any kind of user interface yet. However, later on the user interface can still be a prototype. So yeah, it can be everything.
For me, a prototype is not already a product, so the end customer doesn't normally see a prototype.
Well, in the sense when you say an iPhone 5S is a prototype, then
But then it doesn't make sense to differ between a prototype and a product.
and a product. Yeah.
And there are only prototypes, and the word prototype doesn't make sense at all. It's just a substitute for product.
Yeah, and that's also actually the point. So you have to find out for yourself what you want to find out. It's not about the wording. It's about what is it what I want to find out, basically. And the moment when you release maybe your iPhone, then it's not the prototype. That's the moment when you start improving it again. Then you see it more as like, okay, what can we learn from it? In that sense. But anyway, basically what I want to go into is the material, and I brought some material today for you. I want to introduce you to the so-called little bits, and in a second you will keep them in your hands and then we will work with them. It comes from America, of course. It consists of 3 basic components, and I will show you those components. So the first component is blue. Blue is always input. Anybody knows the little bits? Ever seen them before? Seen the TED Talk? No? There's a TED Talk on it. So the idea was, can we manage to make IoT prototyping material where non-coders and non-engineers can actually work with it and create some new ideas, some new business models. And then they said, okay, what is actually the constraint? And the constraint in the prototype, or in building IoT prototypes, was basically the wiring. You have to put all these wires, and you have to take the, I don't even know how it's called, the Lötkolben, and you have to put all those things there, you know. And then they said, okay, so basically it's about the connection. So can we make a connection system which is way more easier? And then they came up with the little bit technology. So, by the way, if CIA shows up here, it might be because I bought so many batteries and I think I have something in my mind. Something else than prototyping. Yeah, you need a kind of a source of energy. And the next thing is that you need some kind of input sensor. The most easiest one is the button. And the button, it only works in one direction. If you put it like this, it's like a magnet and they're like not accepting each other. But in this way they do. And then you need something green. And green is the, let's see what we have here. Green is the output sensor, okay? And if everything goes right, no it doesn't, because if I press now nothing happens, because I have to turn on the battery. And let's see if the magic works. Here you see the, yes, there you go, and I can cool down this. So this is the basic structure of those little bits. And I would like to invite you to just come here now and get your first impressions of them. We will do this for about 10 minutes, and then I will introduce you to some special elements, the so-called cloud bit. The cloud bit is here, and with that cloud bit you can connect everything what you have here to the internet. So you can connect this here, and you connect it to your wireless router, and if you press that button, something over, there's a platform called If This Then That, which is basically connects everything with everything basically, in case the connection is already built from them. But what you can do, for example, you press that button and you receive an email that somebody pressed the button. Of course you can exchange press that button with a motion sensor, and then you get an email if somebody shows up at your home, for example. That's the one thing, and the other direction works as well. Of course, if you receive an email, then you put a light sensor there, or your ventilator, and every time when your mom sends you an email to cool down first, you get the ventilator first. But this I will introduce after that, so we start very simple. Okay? There's like a description on each little bit. It's called button here, for example, and you can just play around with it by yourself. I suggest start with a button and everything what is green behind, and then switch the different sensors. What kind of sensors do we have? We have, for example, a so-called motion trigger, what I just told you. We have a trigger where you can put this on the door or something. When it's have pressure, then it will do something. But you can also you have here. Let's see if I have it. Yeah. Here you have a display, for example. And if you go up, so it starts from 0. Yeah. So this one is a counter, and each time it gets a signal, it counts down. You see it? Or it can of course count up. And this one is like they call it a pressure sensor. Every time you put some pressure on it. Yeah. Any questions?
What are examples for products developed with this development?
Well, there's if you go to the platform littlebits.cc, there's like a million examples, and I can show on my laptop later on some examples what I did myself. For example, we did a automatic gardening machine. So we took like a bottle, a normal like a water bottle. We put it like this, and then we put a straw in it, and then we had this so-called what's called servo, and each time you press the button, the servo opened, and then some water got out, and then it closed again, and the water kept in again, for example. Yeah. But also what we did was in our company, every time when our boss was closer than 10 minutes by distance, because you have the geofence app, then a hand was waving, and we all knew he will show up soon. Or at least he is close by. Yes, okay? So let's go. Just search the ones you have, maybe pair up in 2 or 3 people. It's easier to do that, and find your way through. Or, yeah. Am I good organized or not good organized?
It's pretty important, at least the smaller sets.
Yeah, just like 3 of them go back to your seat and then exchange them with the people on your orange is you see orange. Orange is not yeah. Here you have a battery source. If you have okay.
Yeah, we all need batteries, right?
Yes, you all need batteries. You have a battery and a wire, battery and wire, battery and wire. I don't have limited green and yeah. Oh yeah, you have to see it like okay. This one.
There's a mini USB.
Yeah, the mini USB works as well if you have a mini USB connection. So therefore, yeah, exactly. But then you need the USB input.
Yeah.
So, for example, your laptop. Yeah, if you have a power bank with you, you can also connect it to the power bank. So is there anybody with a wire? Maybe we just do on each of the 4 tables we do the also table. Okay, and then I'll bring the references to the table. I bring it to your tables. I have to admit that was okay. Anybody has his computer laptop with him? Okay, on which table do you have no battery? And if you have a battery, you also need one of these, right? Do you have it? Yeah. And you have it? Yeah. Do you have a battery source? Yeah. You don't have anything. Guys, you were too slow. You have to negotiate if you can get one from them. Yes. And yes, that one looks good. Getting it? This one.
Yeah, you just bring something to the table.
Nice. Yeah, you guys don't get anything.
Yeah. I will please sit down and bring it to your table.
So ein besseres Bild? Das wäre natürlich großartig, wenn daraus Musik. Also, das verspricht No, he said, we don't know yet.
I would say a fantastic looking machine.
No, there's just some light on it.
Good looking.
Yeah. So, but
Okay, so there you go, you have your first
Band sensor.
there you have your first output, and you get different
Ein Biegesensor.
Ja. You have different input sensors.
Das ist ein Austausch. Offiziell sind die heute gekommen. Ein bisschen verspätet. Deswegen mussten wir mit Ersatz. Was? Keine Ahnung, was das Problem war. Naja.
So then if you have a button, you can also use the servo. But you have to see that, yeah, exactly. Then it's
Go with the battery.
Zero field get sound. So now we have a button for the battery.
And now let me
Put on the LED.
and maybe collide it.
Of course, you do not only start with the prototypes, you can of course connect them to any kind of material what you want, and you can upgrade them, okay? I leave this one here because the last is not ready.
Make a car out of it. That's good, so we can control the speed and work with
Okay, you can of course develop in different directions. So for example, I give just a tone. What you can do first is you can also go into the sound direction. You have the keyboard here. And we have sound where you can get different sounds like a real keyboard, right? I just introduced you to more sensors by just step by step. This one, if you bind it, you will get more energy through it. So like if you have a trigger and this one is binding. What we did with this one, for example, we built a car which will change direction immediately when you go against the wall, right? Because each time you bend it, it changes the direction.
Change the direction.
So we need to attach the part to the engine, the wheel to the engine. It's too big.
This bend sensor doesn't do much.
Maybe we can buy some other equipment.
Oh, we have
This is good. Can modulate it. Give some
If you see that you can adjust something on the triggers, you can use those. Those are to adjusting the signals. Okay? So adjusting that, you have some moment. Would have to adjust something if yeah, just try. I want to register that first, but yeah, other than that, you don't have to do anything. Just put download the app already.
Oh, I'm taking my chair.
Sorry.
We have way more. We can actually connect to the TV.
That is a bit complicated. Funny, because this make a sound. There's an error. So it just feeds something together.
Oh yeah. How can we connect the wheel to the engine?
I think these things work if you just this to that and then the tire
It's not really loose. Yeah, it's too loose. But we could do it like this. Put in the cards and then it's working. Yeah. Now we would have to attach this.
Dauert ja eben der Ledge, was ist das denn? Was ist der Ledge? Just right. I don't know what you know.
Yeah, I guess to work with this we need some workshop.
I thought this year is this workshop.
We feel like working with like a detour. We don't know where we go. We don't know what we will.
You can have a workshop.
Anybody has an orange thing where's the wireless receiver on it? No.
we only have Lego.
Sounds like music now, yeah? This is where techno is coming from, yeah?
one is just one sort of the car will turn around. No, it will be either so it's the same what we had before. It's like a yeah.
How is it not enough for the LED?
Now somehow it doesn't really have enough. Something done. These things exactly.
I have not got
But that's why. Yeah, this lighting brings go.
okay.
Da drüben ist auch gerade voll interaktiv. Vielleicht kann man da auch noch mitfilmen oder so gerade.
You know, the funny thing is, power should go in this direction, so why does it influence the reality? So maybe the battery is empty. And now we can have more, of course, more fun by having adding the. Okay, the LED is key here. Maybe take the LED out.
Nearly broke it.
Okay, this is like. Yeah, now it's so nothing. Okay, this is information of fun.
Raise the chances of fitting. Yeah, can't get it's all about.
Can you laugh again?
That was funny. Try the other way.
It's good fun. We learn something from it, I don't know. I don't think that used to work.
Das können wir dafür.
Ja, das ist gut. Das ist mal richtig so.
And then forward now.
I assume this is like a keyboard from a
They have also these two things here in between. Something that but we just try one. Nothing. Can we enlarge the volume?
Yeah, I tried this. You can try it, but no free changes. And maybe it's not a keyboard for sound. An idea.
Yeah, we already did.
Yeah.
So we need one more gear.
Yeah.
Feedback And this is a trigger.
To go like this.
So I need one to make the mouse as a trigger.
Then it will everything. This rotates and that also rotates. But if you put it like this,
So you want to have the pulse or
this is what I'm hearing. So this rotates like this and this rotates.
We can't touch anything.
Trigger out.
Manual
That's like rickshaw. Yeah. Do you have cables connected? No, this is dark. I want the battery, but I can't connect the battery. No, maybe you do it first. Okay. So we explored it. Perfect. Yeah, that's what we did. Or we can open it maybe here. Oh, but it's not needed a lever. That makes it creep.
Okay, can I have very short your attention? I want to show you something. What you see here, I told you before that there's this so-called cloud bit, or that's what is your experience so far? What you got?
Lego blocks are really good.
What did you build here?
What did you build?
A lighthouse. Very nice. Okay.
There we go.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you
Built a
have
car.
a driving car?
Yeah, that's a 3
Nice one. Does it stop automatically already?
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
This was
Oh,
not-
it was down. Okay. Very good. What you guys have? You don't know yet?
There is no name for it.
We go to Rome.
It's only one arm. Great, great. And how is the progress on your table?
We just tried the keyboard
Yeah.
and it was halfway working.
Yes.
Like, not like really like over there, but it was okay.
Yeah, it's you have to see that you have the right transmitter in between. Like the keyboard only is not working. You have to adapt the signals in between. Okay. Okay. What I want to show you now, just for a second, is the so-called cloud bit. This makes the whole thing more interesting, but also, like for 1 hour of prototyping, it's actually too little of time. You need 3 to 4 hours, and then you really can make great things with it. However, I want you to introduce to it, and we will see what we can make out of it. The prerequisites for the cloud bit, you have to set it up once with a so-called wireless adapter. That's this one. And what you do then is, once you set it up, you can either download the this and that app, but you can also do it in the browser. The very basic one is here. It's still in the cloud control center. You have 2 different options.
Can you close the lid so we can better see the screen?
Yes, definitely. Sorry about that. As I told you, there's 2 different options. You can either send or receive signals. Now I'm in the sending part, and here's the 2 options. I start with this option. Oh my gosh, it's that complicated. Okay. And you see here is now my cloud bit and button and the so-called bar graph. If I press the button now, then it's not because of this connection to the computer, this is only NRG, right? So it's really connected to the internet. And you see, you have a little bit of a delay, like now I press the button, and then you have the signal. Also, I can do, let me see. I can take this and put the threshold higher. And then you see on the bar graph that there will be also more light on, right? So what could you use this for? Any ideas? Any ideas what you could
You
use
can
it for?
display the amount of pollutants in Stuttgart on the bar graph.
Yes. So if you have a different input signal than the one you have yourself here, but you have an automatic input sensor, you can very easily display something like this. We also use this one, for example, for the gearing of the car. When we did with Lego, we did a car. And the more you have input, the more it turns around with the servo. So you can adjust the servo. Okay? So let's see the other way. Let's see if we can also receive a signal. And there I have only the button, so there's only 100% or nothing. So if I press this button, it should show up here, right? Let's see if it works. There you go. And so this is the very basic structure. But basically this means whatever you have, and you need to have the connection point, of course, you can connect to each other. Here you should have the 99, and then you disconnect it. So I invite you to work with this one as well. And I would invite you to work on this table with it, if that's okay. I just put this aside, and then you have the whole table, because then you have the connection with it. Okay?
So the Wi-Fi connection connects to if this and that, and then this connects a little bit, or how is it working in the field?
Oh, okay, yes. Let me do one thing. I want to mirror my display, because otherwise I get crazy here on the screen. How do I mirror my display? Here, mirror display. Perfect. Let's go to my this and that. Okay. Now we want to connect this to this and that. So I go to ifthisthandthat.com, and you have basically to connect it to each other. And there you have very easy recipes.
So the bits first speak with a web server of little bits.
Yes.
And then you can connect the web server of little bits with if it's on that.
Yes.
Correct, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you can connect if it's on that back to little bits, which probably connects to your hardware.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the process. Yeah. And here you can use like four predefined templates. For example, trigger your cloud module to receive an email. But also you can create some of them for yourself by starting from zero, basically. Here you have new output. And there you say this, and then you choose the little bit. And then you can either say if it's turned on or turned off. Yeah, so what is the, it fires every time your cloud bit receives an input, or every time it does something when your cloud bit is turned off, basically. So you could say like this, okay, and then you say what happens then, and you can create a trigger, and then you can say, for example, and And there you have endless opportunities, basically, what you can do. So with the students, what we last time did in the lecture, we basically, you can set a trigger that you can record from every time you press the button. It records the sound, what you're listening in Spotify right now, and you put it in an Excel sheet, for example. But there you can connect it to all the possible available services what you have, basically. So, anybody wants to tap? But I suggest now that it's better if you using this one with that, because otherwise it's getting, in a short time it's it's not usually not working at the first time, so you have to adjust it and you have to test the connection again. And
we have
not
only
really
5 minutes left.
okay. Yes.
You want to do it?
Yeah, I think we should do one example with it, and then we can select all the visits again, and maybe we can then do something in the lecture afterwards. Cool. So anybody wants to do something with the cloud, come in front, and let's do something with the cloud with them.
Just trying your phone. See, it changes the direction. It looks in a perfect way. Put it in the floor.
Let's use a...
That's from Mad Max.
Everybody has this... we have a temperature sensor actually.
We need one more. We need one more USB. Connected. Not USB, the connection.
Electronic swimming.
No.
Really? Yeah, you can have the board that will also be
We need a No, there's more.
Ja, kannst auch wieder zwei Jahre oder das geht nicht.
Two wheels, like motorcycle.
It just moves whatever happens.
Yeah. I don't think we can manage it in the next 4 minutes.
It's the right wheels.
Have you changed them?
Yeah. How you can connect it to the internet?
No, there's a module which has a modem and Wi-Fi USB wire. This way, this little processor will talk to you.
Upgrading. Not a very OBS. Yeah. It's twice the speed.
Maybe one more battery, then we are at full speed.
Can you play notes? Can you play keyboard? Not really. Yeah, so there's no, that don't make sense.
I think we have some interesting sounds there.
Yeah, I have an idea how we could get some sound. So, this oscillator, this one.
Take the keyboard up.
No, it won't.
So, und jetzt kannst du den hier auch.
Hier kann ich voran.
Ich muss am Montag auch noch mal was sagen. Okay, everybody. That was it. That was a very short, a rough introduction into the IoT prototyping part. I would like to ask you to bring the parts back, put all the Legos in the package if you have them, and the rest bring back as well. And hope to see you soon prototyping this little bits or similar stuff. By the way, little bit is open, so you can of course connect to any kind of Arduino device.
And we want to thank you very much.